This here is another local viewer's dirty gaming PC. Now this one in particular is not caked up in really like dark brown dust like we've seen in the past in this particular season, but it is covered in pet hair, and that brings about its own set of problems. So for those who do not know, dust is comprised of many things, including dead skin, not only from pets that roam around the house, but also humans. Dead human skin just flakes off, turns to dust, and settles in computer builds like this. But pet hair is kind of the precursor to that. So hair will actually break down and more or less dissolve into dust over time. And that is literally what is happening with this rig here. We've kind of caught it in this little middle transition period where a lot of the pet hair that's been in here for what looks like several years is starting to transition into full-on dust. And that's why it's got this very white, kind of flaky look to it. It's not brown dust, it's very light, and that's from the light pet hair that has gathered in here. So yeah, it's pretty gross, and we're gonna take care of it in this video. Stay with me.
If you're looking for a 2.5-inch storage drive, check out Team Group's T-Force Delta Max RGB SSDs. They come in 500 gig and 1 terabyte variants and feature addressable LEDs on an isolated layer that can be controlled by either 3-pin ARGB or USB 2.0 headers, both cables included. Enjoy read and write speeds of up to 560 gigabytes per second over the SATA interface and a super clean mirror-like aesthetic. Learn more by clicking the link below.
Now before we take everything apart, let's go over specifications. In here is a Core i7 7700K with, I believe it's a Z270 killer SLIAC from ASRock. We have a 2060 from Asus Strix 2060. I don't know if it's a 2060 Super or not, but it's kind of irrelevant. They're pretty similar in performance. A CX 500 watt Corsair power supply down here. It is non-modular and it's also pretty dusty, the cables especially. And then we have a Corsair case and a few storage drives. So the build is actually quite balanced for what it is, despite using a several generation old i7 by this point. The only concern that I have, if I'm being frank, is this power supply. So in all fairness, an i7 from, Kaby Lake paired with a 2060 can run just fine on a CX 500, right? A 500 watt unit is gonna be enough. Unless you were doing some extreme overclocking, which it wouldn't really make sense to do that with especially a 2060 here. But I want to upgrade his power supply because it's a bit lacking. I mean, even though he has the headroom, if he wants to upgrade in the future, this power supply will become the choke point. And you don't want your power supply to be that. You want to have plenty of juice. You want it to be very efficient, designed very well with a great warranty. And that's why we're going to be upgrading him in this video with our product sponsor, Be Quiet, to the Pure Power 11 750 watt fully modular 80 plus gold unit. So this beast here is on the more affordable side of Be Quiet power supplies. It's a 750 watt unit. Again, it's a fully modular unit, which is actually optional for the Pure Power 11 lineup. You can get it fully modular or non-modular if that's your vibe. And of course, you'll save a bit of money doing that. And it's also 80 plus gold certified, comes with a great warranty from Be Quiet for peace of mind. And it's like sparkling clean because it's never been used, right? So it'll definitely help us out in the cleaning regard as well. The CX500 here, I will try to clean up, but I don't like taking these apart. It's not something that is impossible to do. I wanna make that very clear. I just choose not to show it most of the time here on this playlist because I don't wanna encourage people to just rip these open, especially folks who have no idea what they're doing. You could kill yourself. I mean, that's a real possibility with these units. It's unlikely, especially if the caps are drained properly, but yeah, you don't wanna just take one of these open without having any regard for what's actually in here. So that's why I don't like showing it. For those who keep wondering, Pure Power 11 FM, it's going to be a sweet upgrade nonetheless. So let's get to it then. Cleaning commencing in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. And as we make our way into day 2, it is time to reassemble everything, starting first with this Corsair case. So it's all disassembled right now, and it has all been thoroughly cleaned. I've got to say, this case cleaned up quite nicely. I thought it was going to be a bit rougher than it ended up turning out. So we're going to see what this looks like when we put it all back together, and then we'll get all the other smaller components into the case, including that brand new power supply that we're going to be upgrading the viewer with at Pure Power 11 from Be Quiet. We'll talk about here in a moment. So let's get back to it. And now it's time to install the power supply. As we said, we're going to use a Pure Power 11 FM from Be Quiet. Now the FM stands for fully modular. This is the fully modular variant of the Pure Power 11 lineup, and it's going to come in really handy in cases especially where you don't have a lot of cable management space. This case is not too bad, but being able to like only connect the cables that you need, I mean, that's the real benefit of fully modular designs like this. Keeps a very clean aesthetic as well. You don't have just random cables laying around that are otherwise unused. It's a very sleek unit. It is like standard ATX form factor here, not very long at all, 750 watts, 80 plus gold certified, and you're gonna get a 5-year warranty from Be Quiet with this, which pretty much tells you all you need to know about how much trust and faith they put into their units. Now, in case you're wondering, this is what the cables look like. They are black sleeved, which means you don't have to stare at ugly ketchup and mustardness. So just a couple more things. First off, you're gonna get a very silent fan in here, 120mm variant. You're also gonna get 2 independent 12-volt rails for steady power delivery. But enough chit chat, let's get this thing installed and finish up the rest of the build, and we'll have it all clean and ready to go for the viewer to pick up tomorrow.
All right, and the last thing to do then is power the system on and make sure that it posts. We don't have any issues as usual. If you've been watching this playlist, you probably heard me say that, what, 16 times now? So I apologize, but for those who are new, we always like to power the system on before giving them, before giving these back to their rightful owners. We don't want to give them a dead system we forgot to wire correctly or what have you. You want to check the fans, make sure those are wired properly, etc. Let's power it on. We just got a cool red theme set up by default. I like that. Looks good with the black. All the fans look to be turning. I don't hear any clipping, so that means we don't have any wires getting in the way of the blades. We're just waiting for a post now. Oh yeah, there we go. Now, I'm not sure if it's gonna know because we swapped SATA ports, which device is the boot device. I'm assuming it's his SSD. It's the only SSD he has, and he has 2 hard disk drives. We'll just confirm that real quick. And all right, so it does post, and looks like the boot device is detected, no problem. Again, I checked this more for a peace of mind's sake. I don't, it's not that I don't trust the viewers. Almost every one of these viewers I've met have been really cool people, but you never know, right? Someone could email me after the fact and say, hey, my system's not working. Well, proof's in the pudding. It is working. So I always like to check that. But yeah, closing thoughts. So we are actually still in need of some systems for this season in the Orlando, Florida area to clean. So if you do live in the area and you want your system cleaned for free and it's especially dirty, send her a link. The details are in the video description. She went through a lot, like dozens of emails that were already sent, and most of those systems were not very dirty. They are not worthy of a video in this playlist. So if your system doesn't look at least as bad as what we just cleaned here in this video, don't bother. We probably won't even respond to you. There's just too many inquiries that frankly don't belong in the playlist. We're not upset with you. I mean, it's worth a shot, right? But if it's not dirty, it's not worth our time. So if you have a dirty system, Orlando, Florida area, or you're willing to drive to the Orlando, Florida area and give me about a week to clean it, usually I finish it in about 2 or 3 days, but I like to allot a week just in case I run into issues, then yeah, you can send my wife an email. That would be appreciated. And yeah, so some closing thoughts about this build here. Look, it wasn't the dirtiest, right, clearly, but it had tons of pet hair. The most pet hair I've ever seen in a build that I've cleaned to date. And I'm glad we were able to fix it up, right, prevent that hardcore dust from kicking up long term. It was about to happen, folks. I mean, it was on the verge of it. So we caught it right before a lot of that fur and grime turned into thick dust that just becomes really difficult to clean. You're not just gonna be able to take an air can to it, right, and get rid of it. That stuff really cakes into, especially the plastic in the graphics card shroud, the motherboard, rear IO shroud, things like that. So that's why routine maintenance is recommended, because if you can get rid of that loose dust up front, you won't have to deep clean it later. I think this viewer's build is very balanced despite him having a slightly older Core i7, and I love the color scheme here, the black with the red accents, which I didn't even touch, by the way. So this is his default red theme that he chose here. Looks really nice. And big thanks again to Be Quiet for sending out a Pure Power 11 750 watt to upgrade this viewer with. 750 watts gives him a lot more breathing room. You can find this power supply linked below as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. You know what to do. Consider subscribing if you have not already. What are you doing if you're not subscribed and you've been watching this series? Come on, we got more videos coming. Don't worry. And leave a comment down below. That would be appreciated as well. My name is Greg. Thanks for cleaning with me.